So welcome everyone to a Cosmic Cuppa with Jude. And I'd love to introduce you to a very sweet lady who I met several years ago in Glastonbury, England, Elizabeth HeartStar Keller. And I see you've got a beautiful little cat with you who's
Yes,
decided to
I
also
hear
be part of
that.
this.
He was my goddaughter's mother who passed away, Jake. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
so I hope everyone is ready with their cosmic cuppas. We're going to have a very deep sip today
I
of
should get
some.
my grandmother's teacup. Oh my goodness, I just have.
That's absolutely fine. So
Okay.
welcome everyone. So Elizabeth, how are you? How are you now?
Well, I feel wonderful inside. I feel wonderful inside, just remembering to stay within and in the heart. I think that's where we all have to be because it's such a turbulent time on the planet. There's so much division. It's that you just have to love yourself and create love, in your relationships.
Well said. Well said. Elizabeth, with your permission, I'd love to read out your bio.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So Elizabeth was born in Los Angeles, California. Since spring 1990, Sedona, Arizona has been her home base, and Glastonbury, England, her spiritual home. She has been devoted to spirituality in all traditions since her spontaneous Kundalini awakening at 15 years old, which happened after practicing Transcendental Meditation. This opened her psychic abilities. Obviously, the first and most life-altering vision was that of Christ, who appeared to her. Being born into a Jewish family, this was a surprise to her, but upsetting to her family. The year after this, she was invited to an astrology class and became passionate about astrology, reading and learning everything she could about the stars and blueprint of the soul astrology it offers. From that time on, she took whatever classes she could find in California and was fortunate to study with Dane Rudhyar, the father and pioneer of transpersonal astrology, and many other astrologers. She then moved to London, England, and lived at the TM Centre to pursue her desire to become a TM teacher, and discovered the Theosophical Society, where she learned of the Ascended Masters. She took courses in metaphysics, psychic development, and astrology at the Theosophical Society. She became a TM teacher in 1971 and taught back in Los Angeles, California. She feels her meditation practice is foundational to her spiritual life, and quieting the mind brings one into their true higher self, heart and soul star mission. She has memory of many past lives, especially those in Egypt, as Fi-O-Ra, a priestess of Isis, Hathor, Sekhmet. She also met her Arcturian higher self, called Alo-A, after joining www.groupof40.com and met her mentor, Arcturian channel and author David K. Miller, who has written many volumes of the book Connecting with the Arcturians. The Arcturian group of 40 is dedicated to planetary and personal healings and meditations. For the past 30 years, Elizabeth has been living between Sedona and Glastonbury, England, as a psychic astrologer and leading sacred tour sites called Avalon Journey. Being a crystal grid healer, she has helped to balance the major ley line known as the Michael and Mary line. Since the 2020 pandemic, She has been doing her astrology online in Sedona. She now brings groups to the sacred red rock root chakra of Sedona. She is guided to share the mythology and energy of Sedna, a dwarf planet with an almost 12,000-year cycle, which was discovered by astronomers in 2003. Elizabeth was working out of the Sedona Heart Center as an astrologer the day Sedna was announced to the world as the 10th planet. Elizabeth was leading a prayer drumming circle at the Sedona Heart Center that day and in vision received Sedna's symbol. She realized Sedna is spelt like Sedona without the O. She now feels her mission for the last few years has been to bring light, healing, and awareness to Sedna, known to the Inuit Arctic peoples, goddess of the sea, who Elizabeth feels has appeared to us since Sedna is now close to the earth after almost 12,000 years. And the Sedna energy and story is about the emergence of the divine feminine, out of being unseen and unheard, living deep at the bottom of the sea, and is now coming back to the surface, being activated at this important and crucial time of our Mother Earth's rebirth and ascension into a 5D new age of Aquarius. In 2005, Elizabeth became guardian of HeartStar, one of the group of 8 ancient Himalayan crystal skulls, and ancient Tibetan grandmother crystal skull, Yangtze. She wrote a book with Dr. Jules Maloney called The Crystal Skull Messenger on Amazon. This book tells the story of how these ancient crystal skulls came into her life and their messages. Well, my very dear friend, we're going to have some fun time, aren't we now? What an amazing part of your story. So first of all, I would love to ask you, as I ask most of my guests, what was life like for you growing up? So just to have a fleshing out of your early days to start with.
Well, yeah, I guess I always felt like I came from the stars. So it's, I was born in Los Angeles, and it was strange. I remember it being strange to me. It was like, where's the animals? Where's the, being born in a city like that? I guess that's the connection I always have to England too, because I always miss seeing the sheep on in the green rolling pastures, and so I felt like I was in a strange world. I had a very loving family. I felt like I didn't know how dysfunctional until I was in my 40s, I think. Thankfully, I had rosy-colored glasses on. I mean, my mother was a wonderful humanitarian. That was always, I mean, she was very politically active against war, just in peace. And I remember saying to her, I don't know how old, I was so young, I didn't know what it was. We're going to another peace rally. I said, I hate peace. Not knowing what it was. I was just like, she was very, that was her life. She was dedicated. She was one of the founding members of an organization called Another Mother for Peace, that peace is not healthy for animals or other living things is their motto, and so I worked with her at the Another Mother for Peace, um, yeah, and I think it was, well, when I learned to meditate, like I said, I was 15, so I was still in school, but I really wanted to, I lived in the libraries a lot, and I didn't really want to study what was being taught to me, especially when the Civil War came up. And now I know why, because a woman did a soul retrieval, and it was so terrible, the memory that the soul retrieval pieces split off when you've had traumatic lifetimes, And I think that's what we're doing is we're healing those now. I think we choose to come in different timelines and different biologies and families and bloodlines, to do our part in healing those wounds from religious wars. Like, I mean, what religious wars? I mean, how terrible is that? I mean, what was Christ's message? Like I said, I was Jewish, so I wasn't indoctrinated. Um, and then when I thought I should be a nun because I had to that's when my parents really thought it had gone off the rails, that I actually had taken LSD. They sent me to a psychiatrist who never believed that I had not taken LSD because I was actually having those. I realized it was a Kundalini experience, but I didn't know what it was, you know, like sounds and colors. He's like, this is what happens when you're on LSD. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to tell you that because I'll be lying if I say that, right? And so, it just really just opened me up to spirit. And I guess that my life since then, and I was very lucky, my parents were very liberal because I don't know if I would have let myself stay in England when we went on family holiday and I was 17, but I knew that I wanted to be a TM teacher and they just trusted me to stay. And so, I studied, and that's when I went to the Theosophical. So they didn't stop me. So I was like, wow, now that I, look back on that, I thought that's very unusual. But they knew that I knew what I felt like I was to do. And so I've actually always lived my life like that. It's like I realize, I mean, now that I'm in my 70s, that I never thought about, oh, the bank account or making money. It was just follow spirit. Just, it's kind of like, what is it in the Bible? It's like God takes care of the birds and the birds and the bees and flowers and trees. And, you're taken care of it's not easy when you're older. And I went, oh my goodness, I really didn't think about my retirement because I don't think I'll ever retire. I mean, in the stars, that's what's so exciting is we live in such an incredible universe that we're finding these new things. I mean, Sedna is the furthest out of any planet that we know of. Yeah.
Can
And
we come back to that?
yes,
So
yes, let's go back to Sedna. That's what's exciting.
well,
Yeah.
if we come back further still to start with, please, we will get to Sedna.
Yes.
Could
Okay.
you please tell us, if you will, what your Kundalini experience was like? Was it all in one piece, full
No,
on, or did it come bit by? How did that happen?
yeah, no, it lasted that's what I mean, because I was going to the psychiatrist and I was telling him that I mean, I was having sounds and lights going through my body. I didn't know what they were. I didn't actually think of it till not that long ago that that's what it was, because nobody knew. I mean, it was 1960, whatever it was, 66 maybe. And I don't think anybody had heard about the Kundalini by that time yet, unless you were very involved in Eastern philosophies or something. Yeah, so yeah, that's what it, but it was no, it lasted for quite some time. I can't remember how long. I'm just thinking it must have been a month because I remember going at least 4 times to the psychiatrist who's like, just tell me you're taking LSD. And I was like, no, I'm not going to tell you that. But I found this who became my mentor was a Native American around the corner from the psychiatrist who had a bookstore called the St. Francis Bookstore. She was a Chumash Indian from California, the Chumash. And she was a Jesuit. Because I tried to find her again, and I went to the Catholic Church. She said, "Oh, she was a Jesuit," but because I was having these Christ experiences, then like from my family, that was, not, they thought that's why I went to the psychiatrist, right? Because they thought, oh my gosh, what happened to her, right? Um, she must be on drugs because, that everybody's taking them around, you know. Um, yeah, so Carolyn was her name, and I would go to the bookstore, and she understood what I was experiencing, having a spiritual experience. So I just help her, clean the bookstore, and I'd get to stay upstairs with her on weekends sometimes. And yeah, it was just somebody that understood what I was going through. And
How wonderful.
you know what? I want to share something because it reminds me of there's a Thai restaurant here, and I ordered something to bring home. And there was a little girl behind the counter, and she was so adorable. And I guess she just said to me, I saw fairies. I said, "Oh, hi, and how old are you?" And I thought it was her mother, but she was with a friend, behind the counter. And she, nobody believed her. You see, nobody believed her. So I did. And I said, like I said to my granddaughter, people only see with these two eyes, but we have a third eye, and a lot of people can't see. And she jumped up and down, and she was like, I knew they were real. I knew they were real. Somebody, that I believe. So it reminds me of just this experience that I had. But it was just the
Yes,
other day, and that children see things, and we all have this ability. It's a natural ability everyone has, and I think a lot of the children being born now are coming in with this, like her, like this little girl. And I know my granddaughter, because Kate said, angels aren't real. And I said, yes, they are. I said, and that's what I told her. You don't see him. And she said, oh, the other two eyes, because she was talking about the pineal, I think. I said, yeah, I guess the other two eyes then.
how
Yeah,
wonderful. And I think you're right. I think a lot of children being born now are seeing even more clearly than a lot do when they're
yeah,
little, before it's wiped out of them, basically. And
yeah,
it was wonderful you had that shaman or Shumash woman that understood you at a time when you needed that to
yeah.
understand yourself in that process.
And
How
then
amazing is
exactly. And then I went to the astrology class soon after, and then I understood myself because I have, you know, like Neptune is seeing beyond the veils, and that's very close to my sun, which is aligned to Arcturus, is why I feel very connected to the Arcturians. And I have experienced this, who she came and showed herself. Amazing. I think they're more like plasma blue beings, and they can probably take whatever shape they like, but she was very beautiful and, like 11 foot tall with lights coming out of her head and these beautiful violet eyes and bluish skin. And she said, oh, I'm Aloha, your Arcturian higher self. And I was like, wow, well, that's amazing. I'd like to bring that
it?
through because it was a
Yes,
really beautiful, beautiful experience. It was real. It's like,
yes,
I have had to, like, with the little girl, like, I know the experiences that I have, and you have to just trust that
yes.
that's real. I mean, some people will say, yeah, she must be on drugs now or completely off her rocker or something, right?
The thing is, too, it's realizing that we're working with a lower vibrational physical body that has so much perception available to it, but
Yes.
only working on maybe about 10%. And it's the ability to see more that is here now if we are able to. It's extending out what I call like a piano with all the
Yeah,
keys on the piano, and we're working on the middle three. But what about all the others? All
right.
the other perceptions of reality? And so it's waking up, isn't it, to more that is that we can perceive, which is
Yes.
wonderful. And I wonder if I could ask you if you would be kind enough to tell us about your Christed vision experience.
Oh, okay. Well, I had just learned TM, and I had gone to I was at a boarding school in California, about, I don't know, 2 hours from my home in Ojai, California, which is a very spiritual place where, if people know of Krishnamurti, who the Theosophical wanted him to be like the Christ or something, and he was like, no, I'm not. This is, he was very realized, and he opened a school there in Ojai. I didn't go to his school. I wish I had, because I went to but I was meant to, and that's where I learned TM. So I went home for the Easter break, and there's a little chapel around the corner from my house, that my first boyfriend's chapel, Episcopalian beautiful little chapel. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go meditate in there. I mean, it was I loved it there. And I was walking. It's not a very big, it's the ladies' chapel, because they had it was called St. Albans, right across from UCLA in Los Angeles. And so I started to walk. Nobody was in there um, to meditate. And there was a very large stained glass window with Christ. Oh, I know. And I wanted to bring flowers there because there weren't any flowers on the altar, and it was Easter time, springtime, it was an Easter break. So I got some flowers, and I was walking down the aisle, and the Christ light came through, illuminated this stained glass that said, "Suffer little children that come unto me." And there were different denominations of children at his feet. But I mean, time stood still, because I don't know if it was 1 minute or an eternity. You know what I mean? It was just feeling like people do. It's like, filled with the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call that. It was like, oh my gosh, here I am, this Jewish girl that has to give my life to Christ. What are they going to say? Right? And and I went outside because I wanted to share it, because I felt like, oh my gosh, he's here, right? I mean, that's how it felt. It was like I experienced the Christ light. It was the Christ light. And I realized when I went out, there's like students going to school, the sororities are right down the block. And I was like, no, you know what I mean? It's like, I can't, hey, come in and Christ is here. But so I went back in. I did meditate. I can't, yeah, I must have, I don't know. Maybe I didn't. I did or I didn't. I don't know. I was going to sit down to meditate when this whole happened. And then I went out in the courtyard, and it's beautiful. They've got beautiful roses, and it was gorgeous there. And they have a beautiful replica of the Pieta. And I mean, so this was like the first time of seeing this, because in Judaism, it wasn't like Christ was bad in Judaism. It was just like one of the not the Messiah, which he is, um, but a great, Essene, um, high
A prophet.
priest,
Yeah.
say, prophet, or priest or prophet, yes. Yeah. So, looking at that, I mean, it was just like, the lights going on. It was just all so new to me. And yeah, and I shared it with my parents, like I said, and they thought I was on drugs,
Oh,
and there we take it from there. But
what an amazing experience.
yeah,
What I'd
yeah.
like to say now, you're talking about eternity, and I've got this little start of William Blake's poem
Oh,
here. To
oh,
see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower. To hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. Those words really speak to me from William Blake.
I
And we
love what
wish to understand. It's gorgeous, isn't it? It says so much. This man was amazing in his time. So
and his
awake.
artwork too. I know. Right after this Christ experience, I mean, I lived in London, and William Blake and all those Swedenborgs and all those, like they were amazing. That was like the age of enlightenment, wasn't it? Or was it after? I don't know. You know, I don't, it's the 1700s maybe when Uranus was discovered, and that's when I feel like the Aquarian age began, the age of
Wow.
enlightenment. And
Wow.
now we're really at the zero. We were at the cusp.
Well, I'd
That's
love to
yeah,
talk about this. So
yes.
we wish to understand more about the multiverse, how our universe works, and our place in it. You are passionate about astrology, astroastrology. Tell us what spins your wheels, pun intended, with this fascinating topic and how you delved into the subject of understanding more about our galaxy, creative expression of the all that is, ourselves, and how all this connects with our psyches and more. So let's get into this. It'd be
Okay.
fascinating to hear
Well,
your take.
yes. Well, and the thing is, I started studying astronomy in Berkeley. And that's
Oh,
where Dane Rudhyar, the astrologer, was. So I got into astrology. He was teaching at this little bookstore called Shambhala Books. There weren't very many students. He was truly an amazing visionary. That before he wrote his books about astrology, it was a very black and white because I was studying and I go, it's like, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. You know what I mean? And it was like, oh, no, he just opened up the universe. I mean, he was, I think, French, but a musician and a visionary, incredible. I remember writing to him before I met him and got to study with him, writing The Pulse of Life, I think was one of his first books. It was just about the universe. I mean, it was just so beautifully, like it's like poetry. And I remember writing to him saying, "Oh my gosh, this was the most beautiful book I've ever read," and then he was there. So I would sit in on the classes at Berkeley. They were so huge. I just walk in and be in the astronomy class. And yeah, that fascinated me. And then the astrology, because, everything's based on that. I mean, it's the oldest science because we always looked up, we've got stars, planets, comets, things, now these auroras going down, this is like a
yes,
wake up call for us. And the solar flares, we're being activated. Our like
yes,
chakra
absolutely.
know, and it's hard on people too. I mean, people are nauseous or like they really have symptoms from it, and also a lot of the divisiveness. People don't know what's going on, and so these we won't talk about it, but the division that's going on in the world, because people don't know how to deal with this new frequency, you know,
You're
and
quite
then
right. There are people that are handling it extremely well and waking up and
yes,
feeling what's happening, awakening psychically, spiritually, esoterically. And there are those that are really handling it not so well at all because the energies are jarring their
yes,
frequencies and a lot are
yes.
going off the rails. And particularly after all of this stuff, even more so, sadly, for a lot of them.
Yes, yes, I
Mm,
know. Can I share, because can I share when I met you that we were talking about it? Because
yes.
it almost looks like the Lady Chapel behind you because it's all so
Oh,
white. But, I re you know, it was your birthday, 7/7, and um
I came to see you the day before.
oh, the day before for a reading. And I
Yes,
said, "Oh, for your birthday, I'd like to bring you to the Lady Chapel." Did we meet Thelma first?
yes,
We
we
met
did.
Thelma. So you know what? She wanted me to read this book, and this is Thelma. British Thelma, who had her home in Glastonbury and Sedona. This was like, and this is her holding the crystal skulls, because I called her the crystal skull messenger. So this book is really about the poems that, she channeled. I wish that I had videoed her, because it
Yes.
was never, it was so just, she'd go, Elizabeth, get a pen, it's coming through, and I'd run and I'd get a pen and, write down these poems. But she wanted me to read this one from the Mitchell Hedges Crystal Skull that
How
came through
beautiful.
for 11/11/09.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So Thelma is this wonderful lady that
Yeah.
Elizabeth lived with and who I met the day
Yes.
before my birthday. And then I was invited by Elizabeth to come over the day of my birthday. It was so magical. And we did
Yeah.
go to the Lady Chapel. So would you like to read out that beautiful poem that
Yes,
she
and
wrote?
then I want to tell about when you channeling Mary in Lady Chapel that you didn't even remember, but I always have. I wasn't sure it was you. Um, so this is from the Mitchell Hedges. This is like for 11/11/11. Okay. All directions flow through me. In that I am alone. I unify the earth with stars. Alignment is my throne. From east to west and north and south, my energies hold fast. I also am a pathway to the future and the past. All tribal children soon will come and gather near a mountain. Pulsating stars will reach their hearts. Expect unification. A wondrous band of golden light will touch the heart of all, and God's new time will then emerge to sanctify us all.
That is absolutely beautiful. And that actually speaks on many layers, very, very deep. Wow. And as I was saying to you earlier, I just watched an interview last night with the Mitchell Hedges skull with Dr. Michael Sala. So anyone wanting to delve into that, please do. So your beautiful skull, HeartStar, which you have, I'd love for you to tell this story because yours was the first crystal skull, ancient skull that I ever held.
Yes. Well, and can I tell? I need to share when you channeled Mary in the Lady Chapel. I want to share that because it was so beautiful. And on your birthday, it was on the 7/7. What year was that? Do you remember what
Oh,
year?
probably between 2005 2006, round about then, I think.
It might have been 7/7/7 if it was 2005 on your
I
birthday.
can't
And you
quite
were in,
remember.
because it looks like the Lady Chapel behind you, all the white, and you went behind the altar. There's an altar. It's in the crypt. This is where the holy well that they call Joseph's well in the Lady Chapel, that was, they say Joseph of Arimathea, which I believe came and knew the Druids, because he was a tin and miner. And they've even found the tin, and what's the other one? In the Mendips, lead and tin, I think, which is Saturn and Jupiter.
Tin was
Uh,
big. They were big with the trading going between
Cornwall.
Israel, Judea.
Yes. And they found, from Cornwall
Yeah.
in the Holy Land. So he would come. So he knew the Druids and the people. And it was said he brought Christ as a child there. And, they did the Sabbath is always honoring the Sabbath queen, the bride. That's what it is. It's like the mother, the divine mother, lighting the candles. And um, so he brought Christ there. And then after the crucifixion, it's like, well, where should we go? you know? And That's when they say they went with Mary Magdalene, got off in France. But they traveled that area, France, and there's all kinds of places that, I mean, people know this, between France and Wales and Glastonbury and the Holy Land, and that, I mean, that was like the waterways and the Mediterranean and everything. Yeah, so I just want to so you were at the in and that's the line. Actually, it's right on the Michael line goes straight. The Mary line, on the Mary line. The Michael line crosses, and there's actually a seed of life carved because they knew what they were doing when they built these holy places. Um, yeah, it's marked where the Michael line crosses. It makes a cross right in the Abbey, in the Glastonbury Abbey. So you were behind here in the crypt, you know, um, the altar, and there's a beautiful like Celtic cross carved in the middle of the altar where HeartStar always sits whenever we go there. It's HeartStar's place. And and you just channeled. Maybe you didn't even remember this, but you were just like, oh my gosh, I see this feast on the altar for like this feast, and it was like, and the message is Mary's giving is it's not what was, but it's what is and what can be. It's like all this abundance, of what can, and yeah, I'll always, I mean, whenever I would go there, I would see you,
Oh,
that beautiful. So I felt like
thank
I
you so
wanted
much.
to
I
share.
do remember that now you mention it.
Yeah,
And I work very much with the Magdalene energies. The rose is my symbol that I get everywhere I go when I do the inner work. Um,
yeah,
and it's a very magical place. I kept going back there so many times. It's
yeah.
just beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the Rose Line. I mean, the Rose
Yes,
Line goes to France,
yes,
to
yes,
Scotland. And
yes,
Glastonbury Chalice Well is right through the Rose Line, that
yes.
France, that Magdalene energy, because they came there. I mean, it was known. It was
And
like
that
it
used
was,
to be the original timeline was the
yeah,
rose line.
yes,
And then it got shifted, just like Saturday, Sabbath for a lot got shifted to a Sunday. Interesting that they took that away from the bride.
yes.
And we have
That's
to wonder who was the
right.
bride. I think we know who the bride is.
Yes,
It's so interesting, isn't it? It's
yes.
fascinating,
I know it is.
absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
So I've written down here, which we have been talking about. I met Elizabeth when I was in Glastonbury. You gave me a most beautiful Astro Oracle reading. It was profound. I walked the path of an earth healer, energy worker, light holder, and connector. I was guided to help do this work overseas. And Elizabeth gave me this amazing reading, as she said, the day before my birthday, and was then invited to where you were staying at Thelma's home, where I met these beautiful skulls, and yours was the first I had that I held of an ancient skull, and also Thelma's skull, Yangtze. Are we able to see Yangtze, please?
Yes. Because Yangtze, amazing story about Yangtze, because um HeartStar came to me. I had opened a crystal shop in Sedona, and the owner has the Stone Age in Glastonbury that's been there for 30 something years, Louis, that I knew very well. And he said, oh, I feel like I should. He's such a great designer. He'd put stones in the walls and paintings here. And, he said, there's nothing like what he has in Glastonbury, which is gorgeous. You walk in and it's just jewels and crystals and in the walls and the painting. And yeah, he's quite the creator. Uh, and so he said, I said, well, I'm working at the Sedona Heart Center. That's what I was saying about the symbol that came to me, which I should have. the card, actually, I do have this. I want to show the symbol because I have some writing. I have it on my card, but I'm not going to go looking for it. But it's the top one is Sedna. Underneath it is Pluto. And
Oh,
Pluto, Pluto was the furthest out, and now all of these outside of Pluto, at first they called them Plutons, or now they're dwarfs and centaurs and, unicorns and asteroids. It's like there's so many.
extends.
We've expanded. But back to Yangtze. And the Mitchell Hedges, because Thelma had not yet met the Mitchell Hedges. Only from a photograph did she channel that. So we took the photograph back to Glastonbury because we actually received the photograph from our friend Jaap van Etten, who has amazing crystal skulls, and we'd go to the meditations all the time. And when we got back to Glastonbury, she was still like getting messages like daily from the Mitchell Hedges, the photograph. And she was like taken into inside rooms because she said different crystals, they work in different ways. But it was like what the poem said, a doorway to the
Yes,
future and the past. And
yes.
so one day, and there was the Dragon's Den. Was she liked to watch that? We'd watch it, but he'd talk like that. Come into the Dragon's Den, you're welcome anytime, or something. I have it written in the book is there. But this one day, so she was taken in different days to different like rooms, like a corridor of hallway of just one with crystal floors. I remember
Wow.
it, but she brought it through in poetry, like walk in the crystal floor, something you've not done before, like
Wow.
this one day it's go to, I think it was door 4 or it could have been 3. Um, this is ancient, it's going to take you to your past. And she said on a psychic, because it was all on a psychic level, she had to push this door open. And she said it was like this ancient waft of like, never hadn't been opened for eternities or something.
Wow.
And she walked in and there was a shelf with crystal skulls. And she was told, look at them because there's one that's going to connect you to your past.
Wow.
So it's all on a psychic level, and she saw the one. Well, it was just months later that HeartStar had called the group of 8. That HeartStar is one of a group of 8 small Himalayan crystal skulls found in caves. And this is what I was told in the Himalayas, I believe that, and 16 large ones that are different. I think it's even a different time, but they work together. Um, and they were brought through the stars. Like I said, I always felt like it was the great central sun, but this channeling was like straight from the Pleiades. And I was like, oh, well, that and my friend George Tracy, who's on the other side now as the white light technician, because when I once said he said, I was just playing. I am the white light. When he held HeartStar, he said, this is not crystal from the earth. Now I believe, because the white light technician who's now unlimited, and so back to Yangtze. So HeartStar called out. It's like HeartStar is the messenger, speaks for the 8, or I hear the messages why HeartStar came to me, and he called the group of 8 to come together to Sedona for autumn equinox of 2008. And he said, I used to say he because the Tibetan dwell cool, the Himalayans come through. But now, since Yangtze, the grandmother, who Thelma always called the grandmother, came to be with us since Thelma passed very beautifully in her home in Glastonbury. Days before, she just said, I'm always surprised when I wake up and I'm still here. I can hardly see or hear. I don't remember people's names, but I feel 20 years old inside. Isn't that fantastic? She was
It's
almost
wonderful.
98. Almost
Wow.
90. Yeah. And so HeartStar said, as long as four of us, four of the eight are there to do the four directions, that's okay, but I'd like all eight to show up. And I believe five showed up. We didn't know at the time that they were having a Crystal Skull event where the Mitchell Hedges would be. Just soon after that. And Amira and her husband Michael, who had a wonderful center called the Angel Valley Sedona, which it's like Lemuria, I tell when you go there. They put a labyrinth that is exactly Chartres Cathedral in Red Rock.
I've been there to Chatra. Oh, wow. How amazing.
Amazing. And so they were hosting it in their crystal room hall. They asked me, because Amira and I would go to Yap, because she's Danish too, not Danish, Dutch. She and Yap are both Dutch, but they didn't know each other there. They met here. But she has amazing crystal skulls, one called Sedona that's bigger than Yangtze, out of the red rock from Angel Valley, Sedona.
Wow.
So she asked, since the Himalayans are here, will you do a meditation the night before we start the event on the Saturday? And I said, sure. And this is where Yangtze was put, with the Himalayans in the circle. And when Thelma, who could hardly see because she had macular degeneration, and when she was in her 80s then, I'll always remember this. When she walked, and they're on the floor, and she walked and she jumped when she saw Yangtze in the circle. It's almost like like a Tibetan, they put something and they know the energy that she saw in her psychic meditation. There it is. That's my
Wow.
skull. And it
Wow.
was her skull at that time. It was Gary Moonhawk Butler, who was half Welsh and half Native American. Sadly, he passed. This was Gary's. But Gary knew the connection that Thelma had with the skull. And so he sent it, Yangtze, to be with HeartStar, because HeartStar, the Himalayans were all connected. And he sent Yangtze to be with Thelma. It was 2009. And he said, oh, just send Yangtze back to me in Colorado when you get back in October. Keep Yangtze. And said, put him in the box and send him home when you get home. So, and that's when a Rinpoche was in the Glastonbury Abbey that we're talking about. And I happened to have HeartStar in my bag. I don't usually carry HeartStar around, but the reason I was in the Abbey really early that morning was a woman wanted to spend time with HeartStar, and I said, oh, meet me at the Abbey, because I pretty much I had a special tree. When I get readings, I just run around the corner to do the reading. It was like, I had my tree that I'd sit under. It was easy to run out. And yeah, so back to how Yangtze, where I got off track. Um, the Rinpoche, because when we went to send this Yangtze back to Gary, we found out he had passed.
Oh,
We tried
wow.
to get, yes. So here was Yangtze with Thelma and HeartStar and me.
Wow.
Uh, and his wife came the next year to get Yangtze from Thelma on a 10-10-10 crystal skull event, but Gary came through with a message from Thelma saying, it's by your side that I'm to reside, whatever the poem was. And Thelma shared it. She was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I mean, Yangtze's supposed to stay with me. And his wife knew that.
How
But
wonderful.
we didn't know how he came across Yangtze, because the Rinpoche, when I met the Rinpoche in the Abbey, and the Rinpoche held, I have a picture of him holding HeartStar like this, going, I'm here to do an empowerment, and I'd like to invite you to come. And I was like, oh, and Yangtze happened to be with us then, before we knew that Yangtze was going to stay with Thalma from that time on. So I brought both of them to the empowerment for the 3 days in a yurt or a tent. At the end of it, I came up and he said, oh, thank you for bringing these ancient healing crystal skulls to me. He said, oh my gosh, this one, he said, it's Himalayan crystal, which is, crystal is water, but it's way up in the Himalayas, like 15,000 feet or something, and no machines go there. The monks. And so he was like confirming. He didn't say, oh, how did you get that? He said, this is, give this back to us. Like, I didn't know, we didn't know where Yangtze came from. He said, this is very special because it's hollowed out. And we put our prayers in here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. And he said, he called this, there's a mark here. He called it silver. We never knew what it is, but he said, oh, and it was made like this because this sends the prayers deep into the earth.
Oh, how beautiful.
So it was like, I wanted to ask Gary, where did you get this ancient Tibetan, like you just told me it was? And I believe that Thelma, because she had a memory, she didn't like her monk life, but she didn't like it. But after she passed, I was like, oh my goodness. She had I believe it was a Tibetan, she said a Chinese guide when she was in her 50s came through and painted through her. She said the only thing that was good that she painted was a bust of Christ. She gave it away. But she continued. And then he said, get some clay, and she'd make these little funny heads. And I joked with her one day and I said, I think you were a crystal skull carver. She'd make these funny little heads, right? Like little nymph, kind of like, yeah. And
So
then
one of the things I would like to share, if I may, is this.
yeah. Oh, is that the Michtash?
No, this is the British.
British. Oh, you brought the British skull to her. You brought the photograph, right? Because
Yes, I did.
was it, because it was on 7/7/7, your birthday. Because
Yes.
I have a poem in the book from the photograph from the British skull that you brought that actually marked it to read. And then I it was like, no, I'm supposed to. Here it is. 7707. Poem from the British Museum crystal skull that you brought to her. And here, here's I don't know if it was, I think it was, yes, this photo. Yes. And so this is what she channeled when you brought it to her. All humanity will join to float in mystic spheres. Lift your voices, lift your hearts, dispersing all your fears. From east and west, all will be drawn to this mighty movement. Man's time has come when he must make a spiritual improvement. Join with me, and you will see a glimpse of the eternity.
Isn't that beautiful? And this skull was the one that had the biggest impact on me, Elizabeth.
Me
before I met it, energetically, and after. And that started my journey on having all these crystal skulls come into my sphere.
Wow.
from that
Really?
moment, starting with yours, which is blows your mind, really. Blows your
Yes.
mind.
Well, and it was the British skull. I have it written in this book about that was the first skull I connected to.
Oh,
And
really?
and I still, I lived in Sedona and the Mitchell hedges would come and I wasn't attracted to any of I worked in a shop and I'd go, "Oh, what's this all about?" Like people do. Like, oh my gosh, now what are they doing? Like the skull and the bones or something, you know what I mean? Like the fears
Wow.
or yeah, and it was I had that
Oh,
I
for heaven's sake, that's amazing.
it was in
That
the
is
Museum
amazing.
of Mankind when I was it in no you when you were there it was in the British Museum.
Yes,
But the
yes.
first time I went to Glastonbury, um, and had the most amazing experience, saying, come, oh, to do your work, to do my astrology and my spiritual work. That was like what I experienced the very first time I went to Glastonbury, because I hadn't done astrology professionally, even though I had been like studying it. I didn't actually study it thinking I was going to be an astrologer. I just was like always, and I still am. All these new things are so amazing. Well,
They
I love,
are. They are. So if we could just move on a little bit to a
yes,
slightly different topic. Thank you so much. It's fascinating. I could talk to you all day.
yeah,
You
oh,
remember some of your past lives. Would you like
yes.
to tell us some of your remembrances of times in Egypt as Phi Ora, if I'm saying that correctly,
Oh,
a
okay.
priestess of Isis Hathor Sekhmet?
Yes. Well, yes. I moved to Sedona in the spring of 1990, and a wonderful musician here named Robin Miller, whose angelic music is incredible, and he's also rock and roll he's fantastic, incredible musician. He was doing past life regressions, and I asked to have a past life regression, and in the regression, I was a a priestess of the Hathor temple. I hadn't remembered that until then. I mean, now it's whatever, a long time ago.
So that would
Um,
be Dendara.
yes,
Dendara?
yes.
Yes.
And and I also remember when I was 9 years old, I believe I was nine, and someone at school saying, "Where are you from?" in Egypt came out of my mouth, and I didn't even know where it was. I didn't even know why I said it. But I remembered it. Like it was like, oh, there was some memory of this, but not conscious. And then having this regression, I mean, I remembered studying astrology, and they have now it's in the Louvre in Paris, but the original
Yes. Yes.
Dendera,
Karmic.
yeah, the Egyptian
Yeah.
zodiac.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was after. Is it after? Yeah, after the experience of connecting with my Arcturian that I had this. Well, I did go to Dendera in 2000 and then again in 2009 and just last year.
Wow.
But they never let you stay long enough. And if I do go back, I don't know if I will. I knew it was like three initiations. That's why it was the first one was Hathor. And then the next time I went, it was like connecting with Sekhmet in the pyramid, which was quite a force. She's the lion goddess that's like Kali, and she's can be so I had messages I was going to connect with lion energy, but I didn't know that it was going to be the way it was. I guess you'll arrange that if really I'm supposed to. I didn't think I would physically be there, but I had friends in Glastonbury, 3 9 stone circles, 9 stones, one in Glastonbury, one up north. My friend lives around Manchester, I think, and one, I believe, in Cornwall. So there were groups at noontime in England, so I had to be in the King's Chamber at 2 because there was 2 hour difference. And I mean, it was amazing how it happened, and that nobody was in the King's Chamber, but this Egyptian man, when I was stepping out of the sarcophagus, that had this amazing experience, grabbed my hand. I mean, it would hurt. And we were the only ones in there. But that's when the lion goddess came through, and she took care of that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite a, yeah. So that was the 999. And then this last year, I had never been to Aswan, to the Philae Isis temple,
Yeah.
or to Abu Simbel, which is where Ramesses II has his beautiful, and I happened to be there on the sun festivals only twice a year, on 2/22 or February 22nd of every year and October 22nd of every year. So for my birthday last year, which was on the 19th, I got to be in, well, at this most beautiful place off the river where actually it's golden sand, where they would actually quarry to build the temples. I never can remember the name, El Jebel something, just off the water. And that, to be at the Isis temple. So it felt like this third initiation for me. And just, I feel like that aspect of myself from that early time, like, split off, just like we have traumas where we split off. It was like this higher self splitting off and living on another dimension. Like in a temple, in a star like temple. And then, oh, I know, somebody channeled when HeartStar first came to me, channeled this Phi Ra. And I realized, oh, that's who it was. Um, I didn't really remember that till this year when I went to Dendera and then the Philae and Abu Simbel. Oh, that was just gorgeous to watch the sunrise come out of the Nile straight into Ramesses, Holy of Holies. Along, the light goes through and illuminates the Holy of Holies, and then the Nefertari, his queen's Hathor temple. That was my favorite because I love the Hathor. So that was like right next to, so that was just like, oh my. So I don't know if I'll physically go back, but that's what I felt like. That was like why this memory, and even to share it, because I mean I never thought I would even share it. I guess I was meant to share it because I believe that we all have these multidimensional aspects, and we're healing the trauma ones from the earth and the bloodlines and all of that we chose to come through. But we have these star um, ancestries and bloodlines.
It's interesting you talk about this because I love how there's the thread with what I have written to what is spoken. Not that it always has to be about what I've written, but the next piece I have here is, would you talk about Aloha, a plasma being that you mentioned with violet eyes and bright eyes coming from the crown and third eye chakras that interacts with you, and talk about aspects of their multidimensional selves that we're just discussing in parallel existences and realities in other dimensions, which is mind-blowing to say the least. But this is the involvement of what we've just been discussing about, look, as above, so below, with the fractals of trauma being either dissipated out and new coming through. Would you like to talk about these aspects, please, in your connection with Aloha?
Yes, aloha is the way, yeah, well, um as you read in the David Miller channels this group of Arcturians. I believe there's many groups, but this particular group, the main Helioa is the healer. And they have a huge, I think it's a mile and a half ship they call Athena, that's in the fifth dimension, that they're dedicated to planetary healing because they were in a third dimensional duality existence. I don't know how long ago, and they evolved, and they have all these techniques and tools because we do have the ability to go to the fifth dimension. I mean, there are many dimensions, but the fifth and the third, you know, are easy to get to. and and David, through Helioa and Giuliano, are the two. They're like mates that that are the ones that mostly channel through David, but there are others. Tomar is has the temple, and that's where I feel like this Egyptian Atlantean, I believe she was Atlantean and Egyptian, lives in this temple that's like a meditation temple, that it's just for meditation, for planetary healing. And um so so it's using these techniques, which are like these healing chambers. For over 2 years, every day I would just like, I was going through a lot emotionally, so it was very nice. And like the technique of, they say, and I'd like to share this because the one thing they want to share that's the easiest for children and anybody, for protection and for evolution, and also raising your frequency so you're not pulled down by negative energies, is um, they call it the cosmic egg. That's your aura, and our auras get like out of shape. And so what they say is to say to your aura, I command, and your aura is like, I command my aura to go in the shape of a cosmic egg all the way around the body, about 8 to 10 inches outside of the body. That's your aura. And then to fill it with golden white light, or they really like electric blue light. They love the blue light because, there's lots of blue lights and blue beings. And I think that has a lot to do with this plasma and something about the blue ray. Um, so they like that. It activates, I think, our cells. And they said especially our immune systems. And they talked about this for many years, more than 10 years before COVID happened, how important to build our immune system so that viruses and all these things that are floating around don't affect us. And this cosmic egg, so you just say, I command my aura to go in the shape of the cosmic egg. And for children, I say, just say golden egg, golden egg, golden egg, and have a egg all around your body, under your feet, and above your head, and you can fill it with whatever color you want for the day, and that's your sacred space and your protection. And then you see gold like shimmering out from the outline, or the outline of the cosmic egg is like an indigo color, but golden, like almost like lapis. Like it makes me think of the lapis, it has gold in it. And then you vibrate it. Like, so what the Arcturians through David would go ta 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 ta, and just, you don't have to do it out loud, but you can. But to yourself, you're vibrating that outline, that like lapis outline of the cosmic egg, and then you go shimmer, and you let the gold. It's almost like, the statues of Mary, or like the Guadalupe with the golden around. And
I
that's what
love that.
that's
I
what I
love
told,
that.
just see the golden egg around you, and you can fill it up with whatever color you want. And, that's like your protection.
I
So that's,
absolutely love that. And the blue's very important right now, isn't it? It's like this electric blue that seems to be one of the new shades of blue coming in now. I've been hearing this a lot. And in the days gone by, blue was not seen. And they talked about the tri-coloured rainbow. They only saw 3 colours early on. So we have more cones and rods forming in our eyes now, where we see more 7 mostly. But often I'll open a book with white pages, and in the spine, it's electric blue. And I'm thinking, where's that coming from? It's like a purpley blue, ultraviolet, which is interesting.
Yes. That's what I would see in my meditations early on when I started. And I
Wow.
knew it was like this, like a spiritual, it was just little flashes, like you're saying. Like, yeah. So that's what they like to use.
I love that.
So easy because, for children and for the child within all of us,
Yes.
Anybody can say golden egg and fill it with purple light or pink or whatever.
I love that. And that makes it so easy and so beautiful. It's a lovely practice to do. I'll be doing this too. I think to protect our auric field is very important, which also protects the body a degree as well. It protects the psyche, the mind, the spirit, the soul. I love that, Elizabeth. Thank you so much.
Yes, well,
Would you like to talk? Would you like to? Sorry.
Yes, I mean that's all from the Arcturians, and they have techniques that like these books. I believe there's just 4. There might be 5 volumes of connecting with the Arcturians. And the group of 40, it's not the number 40, it's spelled out FORTY, group of40.com. But I believe his books are and it's they only charge $40 a year, and David channels like in biorelativities and planetary healings and planetary cities of light, monthly meditation. It's like so there are groups. It's called the group of 40 because the Arcturians said they need 40 groups of 40 people to really be able to raise the level, or this group of Arcturians. And I had never heard about being a hybrid before until I went to, there's a wonderful channel in Detroit, Michigan named Michaela Sheldon. I've taken her courses. She's quite an amazing being in channel. And when she channels Mary Magdalene, you really feel her presence. But I went to her before COVID. She had expos. I can't remember what they called them in Detroit. I had never been. And a woman, Barbara Lamb, who I had heard about because crop circles, she would come for crop circles, which I loved. I was in many, at least 50, if not more, crop circles, which are amazing. And I heard of Barbara Lamb because she's written books about the crop circles, but I didn't know that she actually did regressions. And it was like people would be hybrids, or they'd have the memories of like their star. Like a lot of people say, oh, I'm Arcturian, Syrian, Pleiadian. I mean, we're remembering where we came from. And, we came from everywhere because we're a part of the universe and we're part of the all. Yeah.
Absolutely, out of the all, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's what's exciting about so many waking up to this memory. And so that the Arcturian, because I was regularly having sessions with David, and at one session, Helioa asked, "Would you please channel me? I want to teach more healing through you." So I agreed, and I was just practicing. I'm like a slow learner. In 2017. I didn't ever thought I'd want to channel, but it was quite interesting, and she showed me how to do it, like with this technique. And it was mainly channeling, but she was just talking to me through me, like it was kind of personal stuff. And then after about, it wasn't quite a year, I could tell it was a different energy. You asked about Aloha. I'm like, oh, this is not Leo. Who is this? And that's when I saw, oh, she showed herself to me and gave me this name. And it's like Aloha, where I lived in Hawaii 12 years. And you know, the Hawaiian language is only 13 letter alphabet. It's a very
Oh,
pure ahs and right. And so, but it was aloha. I said, oh, that's close to aloha. Yeah. And so I was practicing for many years, and then that COVID happened. I actually it's not, I started a YouTube channel in 2020 because, you know, my tours was the way I would like make money to come back to Sedona, you know, go to Glastonbury for 6 months, work at a friend's shop where you had a reading and, you know, come back and I'd have enough and then I'd go back. So COVID happened. I was like, well, my astrologer since 2016 had been saying, you need to do these YouTubes. And I was like, oh gosh, I've always been shy, like not liking my picture taken or anything. But I did it, and I'd watch it, and I'd go, like it's not me. Oh well, she's kind of nutty, you know, holding up the horoscopes, like you know, like not very professional. But she's kind of nutty, but I like her. Like looking at myself, like objectively, right? And then I got COVID, and I got long COVID, and it was quite a journey. Quite a like, yeah. I feel like what for me, what it did was it was clearing a lot of old negative thought forms. Like I thought, oh, I'm a witch. I'm, you know, the astrology. There was all this, you know, past lives like, oh, you're evil, you're doing even now, you know, it's like people feel that way. Um, Yeah, there was a lot of it's like I'm never doing astrology. I didn't even think I was going to live. I didn't think I was going to live. I could not sleep at all. It was horrible. And I lost it was kind of like, oh, all that work I was doing of channeling. And so I have not, when I was in Egypt, they came through right when I got to Aswan. It's like, we want you to open again. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to do this if whatever is in the highest and greatest good of um it's not something I choose to be. And then I met Vivian Chevet, who's a hybrid who lives in Phoenix. And she doesn't go into like trance channeling. She's just more of a conscious and I did a workshop with her, which was amazing activation. And I thought, well, maybe it's just activating this hybrid like she is. Like she says she's an Arcturian, an Arcturian having an earth experience. I'm not exactly like her because I know that I come from different, like the Syrian is very strong. Um, but just to be our multidimensional selves without having to go into like a trance state. So
fantastic.
yeah, so
Fantastic.
we'll see. I don't, you know, that's um I'm willing, like you know, how we're spiritual beings having an earth experience, you know, if I last
Absolutely.
another who knows how many years in this. I like when people call them meat bodies because it kind of,
Let's talk about the birth of the new Earth, Elizabeth.
yes,
The
oh good,
Aquarian age, which you say
yes,
started at the winter solstice, Northern Hemisphere, 2020, with the discovery of a new outer 10th planet that you've mentioned called Sedna, a red planet. And can you please tell us the story of Sedna?
yes. Well, yes. Well, you read that I was at the Sedona Heart Center and I did astrology there, and we had a big mother drum. And we would take turns, whoever worked there, as a service to the community at noontime to do a prayer drumming. If anybody showed up, you know, we would be there, or we'd just drum ourselves and pray. And so, yeah, it was March 15th. And it was my day. I remember the March 15th because my good friend Christy, and also it's the Ides of March. And I was preparing to go to the Sedona Heart Center, and I heard, I guess I must have had the radio on because it was announced on the radio, the 10th planet's been found and its name is Sedna. And I went to the drum, and there were about 4 people there, and I said, being an astrologer, I'm so excited that I just learned a new planet. They called it the 10th planet has been found named Sedna, and I'd like to dedicate our drumming to this new energy because when a new planet, it's like we're ready to open our consciousness to and so the symbol came to me. I have all the scribbling around it, but I would have done it differently, but at least you could see it.
Yes.
The symbol came to me, and
It almost looks royal. It looks like the royal globe, doesn't
oh,
it?
that's true. And you know what's so interesting that I actually have some Magdalene. A friend of mine gave me this Magdalene tincture, and what's on it? It's a heart instead of a circle. It's exactly that, but it's a heart,
Wow.
like known as a Magdalene symbol. It's like the
Oh,
anchors. Yeah, because she just sent it to me at springtime. Um, but it is like Venus usually has the cross. It's almost like, breech birth. Like we're pulling you out, Venus. Like we're taking you. If you're not coming head first, we're pulling you out from the feet or something. And then the moon, the emotions, the waters,
the
because she's
feminine.
feminine. Yes, exactly. The moon. Yeah, so that symbol came, and then I went home and I looked up what Sedna. It is so amazing how the astronomers that spot these and are allowed to call them, name them. And the asteroids in the 1800s were named after the Roman and Greek goddesses. And so most of the asteroid belt is feminine. And so most of these new stars, planets, quasars, asteroids. What else is there? I don't know. We're finding a lot of them are feminine mythologies. And so this is the feminine mythology, Sedna, of the Arctic peoples that live in the frigid cold waters and where the auroras come, but they're in dark half the year and in light half the year. And it's not an easy place at all to live. As a matter of fact, the highest suicide rate in the world is from that. Yeah, I learned that after this, but the the mythology, there's many variations, but the only one that sticks with me that I remember is the first one I read right after the symbol came and I heard, which was from the Inuit Alaskan tribe. They call her the goddess of the sea, that Sedna was a motherless child. Her mother died in childbirth, and she would not marry any of the suitors that came. And then the father said, "You're going to marry the next one that comes." So in this myth, a cloaked, hooded figure comes up, and the father goes, "Oh, I have this beautiful daughter, Sedna. She cooks and cleans." And they're off they go. And then the hood comes off and it's a raven. And so the raven does what ravens do, and he flew Sedna to his nest and went out and found cold meat to throw. She was not happy, screaming, and the father hears her and he comes in his kayak to save her, and they are leaving, and the raven comes and sees that she's gone, and oh, there they are going, and he tries to grab her, and the waves get really rough, and the father throws Sedna off the kayak, out of the kayak, and went into the cold, frigid waters. And when she tries to climb back on, he chops her fingers off. This is the myth. And from the blood of Sedna, all sea life is born. Okay, so she's feeds the people. So, all whales, seals, dolphin, all the fish, everything is born from, and she lives at the bottom of the ocean and feeds the people, right? And so they say when the waters are rough, the shamans of the tribe have to come out and ask for forgiveness for abusing nature. And they say, like, comb her hair, like, because she has no fingers. Just please, Sedna, calm down. We're very sorry that nature's been abused, and let us eat and survive. So that they named this furthest out of any planet that we know of, Sedna. They take on, I don't know how that works, but it works. It's like the astronomer that sees it has some connection, and a lot of these, like, gods and goddesses, and they are myths, and myths come through time. So there's always some form of truth of myth, right? And that her cycle is that the orbit is almost 12,000 years. I think it's different people have different things. 11,400. I saw an astronomer say 12,000 years. That now she is so close. And I believe this is like we're on another timeline of, like, Atlantis. And there's more water in our bodies and on the earth. And if we don't change, the waters can come up and cover us, like it has happened before. That's not, I don't believe, like the Arcturians and all these, we don't want this to happen. Look at this gorgeous planet. Such a beautiful planet, you know. But the misuse of energy, and that was Atlantis, the misuse of crystal technologies.
Absolutely. And it's like we're in that crux point again. We really are. And we're at the crux point also of the Lion's Gate. This year being a 888, 888.
Isn't that amazing?
Can you talk about the significance of this alignment, please?
Yes, because this alignment does have to do with, like, it's, in Egypt, and the star Sirius, which connects to Isis, and then Orion or Osiris, and those mysteries and everything. But I mean, I think everyone should experience these temples and these pyramids, and you just go, I mean, it's mind-blowing. How can things be so perfect and beautiful? You know what I mean? It's like so many hieroglyphics and paintings in these, like, it's mind-blowing. So the rising of Sirius would be the rising of the Nile, and that's the fertility of the land, And so a lot of the pyramids are built around, like, the belt of Orion and Sirius, because Sirius is the sun behind our sun. It is the closest sun star to our own. So and they say, and I believe, that the dolphins and the whales actually, the sonar and the sound, that they're the record keepers, that they hold it's like, they had the perpetual choirs to keep peace and harmony in the land, yeah.
It's similar to the birds singing in the morning. They say without the bird song, the earth would die. So it's sound, isn't it? It's fascinating.
Yes, and the bees, and so, and how important nature is. That's why, that's, to me, what's happening now with the Sedna, and these, remembering why we're here and how we have to not misuse nature. Like, nature gives everything to us, it's the misuse of that power, that happened. and it's in everybody's psyche,
But I think this time, I think we're going to make it.
I
I think
believe
this
so.
time we push through.
Yes,
It's going to be glorious. I wonder
yes.
if you could tell us, please, about your beautiful Astro Oracle cards you designed. And would
Yeah.
you like to give us a wee mini reading as a collective for those that will view our
Yes.
Cosmic
I
Cuppa?
would love that. Okay,
I
I
would love
have to.
that too,
I
because
should
you,
have had it right here, but I just have it over here. I'll get the
all
cards,
right.
and it'll be fun.
So
Okay.
Elizabeth has designed this most beautiful set of Astro Oracle cards, which talk about the planets, what they mean with colours, the beautiful designs, and obviously the meanings of these gorgeous cards. And I had a beautiful reading with her using these cards. She set it out in a 12 placed sphere astrologically, and it was fascinating and right on point. So this is a very, very clever lady going in depth, talking transpersonal, body, mind, spirit with all that she does with her beautiful readings.
Oh,
So what have
thank you.
we got there, Elizabeth?
Yeah. So, you know what? I don't know if the sound, if you're going to be able to. I know there's
Yep,
this
yep.
sound thing on or whatever, because I like to start. But here's the deck. I know I'm very happy with. It was like 30-year envisioning this, and then in 2016 it finally was published. Um, and it reminds me actually of the colors of the Arcturians I was talking about. I knew the gold was important because I was going to do round cards like this. And they said I couldn't put gold. So I said, okay, well, we have to put the round on this because this gold is important. And everybody that's like looks at it because, it's the golden energy that we all have, the light.
Would you like to
So,
just maybe show up one or two so people can see
yes.
how beautiful they are and then
Yes,
maybe do a
I
wee
want to.
reading?
I would love to. You know what I'm going to do, and this is actually the NASA photo. It's actually two of Uranus because I couldn't decide which one to use, so I superimposed them because Uranus is very much about light and about cosmic consciousness and the prisms. So I actually superimposed two
Oh,
NASA photos on the Uranus card. And then,
interesting. It also says awaken, Elizabeth, which is what we're
yes,
doing. It's what we're
that's
all about.
right. Yes, awakening.
Yeah.
Yes. And then look at Neptune. This is a NASA photo. Isn't Neptune gorgeous? Neptune's from the Piscean age. It's like the planet. It was discovered in the 1800s when the asteroids were, and it brought in the spiritual movements. These two did. Uranus was discovered when electricity and when the revolution, so it brings light and change and evolution, and it can be unsettling, which is why this Aquarian energy we're coming into, it is unsettling because it's new energy. We're getting used to it, and these auroras and the things that are, we're definitely, but this Neptune is the cosmic ocean, and this is the Christ consciousness, and this is the planet that's not of the earth. It's like of the music of the spheres and the angelic realms and higher dimensions. And I mean, just that color, isn't that gorgeous? That we were talking about
Beautiful.
that kind of electric blue almost color.
Yes, yes.
Uh, yeah, so those are NASA. And then I made this for, to teach too, because, the color wheel is actually accurate. And there's a woman named, is it Sherry Edwards, that works with sound frequency with the colors of the astrology and the horoscopes. And my friend Ani Williams, that I started doing the tours with to Glastonbury for a few years in the 1995, I think was the first one. She works with that which is the color tone from the astrology. So I put those in, and I mean, and there's the sun card,
Wow.
all these solar flares going off now. That's quite something. And here's the Aquarius card. you know.
Whoa.
So I put the actual star formation and
Yeah,
the
they're
signs.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes. And then this is like the Aquarian color. It's like a purpley color.
Oh,
Yeah.
almost like the ultraviolet.
Yes. And it's the water bearer, although it's an air sign they call
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But the water, generates electricity and energy.
So
So
it's
the
all things
water
through the
bearer,
air. Yeah, all
yes,
things that are happening through the air, like
yes,
telecommunications, etc.
yes,
But also spirit,
yes,
waking up to hearing, to
yes,
seeing more.
yes, and about communities coming together and
Mm,
friendship. It's very much. I really believe that relationships are evolving to be friends for that we're all friends because the old paradigm, people are so afraid to love someone other than, you know what, love is love. I mean, I think we've been here for so long. We have other relationships. It's not to fear it. It's like, I don't know. Anyways, here's Mercury, which kind of looks like our brain. So, okay, I'd love to do a little. I think I'm just going to do a 5 card because
thank you.
the main one I do is 13 cards, which is the 12 zodiac houses and the 13th in the middle. But when I do a shorter one, I do 5 cards. So I do the 4 directions, or like the Aries is the first, the sign of Cancer is the second card, the Libra is the third card, and Capricorn the fourth card, and then the middle is the fifth.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. So I don't know what this is going to sound like if the sound comes through, because I like to start with this. It's a ninth octave. My friend George, who I mentioned, the white light technician, gave me this tuning fork before he passed. And he said it was a crystal tuner. It is a crystal tuner, but it's a ninth octave or a ninth dimensional frequency. And this crystal that, I don't hurt the part, but this other part I use. So I'm going to tone this 3 times and just kind of do an invocation. That's how I like to start. So I'll just ask if you would to close your eyes, releasing any thoughts or tensions in your mind or body, and just allow these tones and frequencies to surround you as you open your heart to receive. And keeping your eyes closed, taking 3 deep breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And in the next inhale, inhaling a golden light, allowing it to fill you and surround you as you visualize yourself and the path of destiny before you, and praying to God, Goddess, Great Spirit, Divine Mother. We welcome, thank, and honor your spiritual guides, angelic helpers, beloved ancestors, guides, galactics, and guardians, and I ask that I'm able to bring clarity and light upon your path. Together we ask this in love and wisdom for divine insight and inspiration. Oh, amen. Namaste. Well, I saw the angels, and they were your angels. They were your angels, Jude, because when I did your reading last, the same group of beautiful angels appeared. I knew they were coming because they're your angels. And so what is their message? So we'll ask what the message of Jude's angels are for all of us at this exciting, critical, challenging, and beautiful time. Because we can create, and this is what the 8-8 talk about. The 8-8, it's the gate, the opening for the new earth, and that it's 888. This is very special. It's balancing, and it's the balance. So I shuffle that, just asking what the message is from the angels for us at this special Lion's Gate 888. And then I'm going to put them in a couple piles. Okay, well, the first card is, when I do the 4, the first is Aries, the Aries point, which is the I am, so it's the most important, like the I am of the message from the angels. Oh, and this is a beautiful message because the message is to say, I have. I have. It's Taurus, it's the earth, it's Venus and the earth, which is the love of the earth. And the second house of Taurus is about what our values are, our real values. And it's knowing that you have what you have. And so it's all about saying, I have. It's interesting because I'm in a pod group and we were reading this fantastic book called What Happened to the New Age? Channeled by Kathleen Kingdon. It's fantastic. And she channels Dwalkul. But one of the women, was sharing about, I loved it, I wrote it down. I am, and I am enough, and I have enough. That we all have. This is like the gift of the earth, when I look at that, it's kind of like the cornucopia, like what you saw, like the feast, like there is enough. We have enough. There is enough on this planet. It's just the resources being distributed for the all, right? So this is a beautiful, I have. That's the most important kind of affirmation. I am and I have. And then in the second card, which is the House of the Moon, the sign of Cancer, which is the womb, the home, the mother, where you're most supported. Oh, and so this is saying, I'm supported because I see the superconscious, the spiritual wisdom. This is Sagittarius. Sagittarius's house. It's interesting, the first 2 are house cards because the house cards are areas of life. So this is saying this is the house of the masters or the guides or your spiritual quest and journey and what your truth is. And yes, there's 8 billion truths on the planet, and I think it's just accepting whatever someone's is. I mean, loving kindness, even if it's a completely different, because you're going to only hurt yourself because the other is a part of us. So that, to me, this is what's supporting us is our spiritual journey and our beliefs and our truth and what we've learned and what, Jupiter is the planet for the 9th house, Sagittarius's house, which is the largest planet, like the Santa Claus of the zodiac that just wants to give and give and give and go and go and go and be free and always looking at the positive and the bigger picture, and Jupiter's wisdom and good fortune. So keeping positive and saying, I have, I see. And then in the seventh or the third card, which is the seventh house, because these are the cardinal houses, which are the active houses, is the house of Libra. So it's about it's about relationships, partnerships, really honoring the other. And this is beautiful because Leo, here we are, we're in the Lion's Gate.
Whoa,
This is saying spiritual partnerships, like being in spiritual partnership. Leo is the sign of the sun, the sign of the heart in the body, the sign of love, and so how wonderful in partnership. And it always is about the inner child, too. It's, children and light and wanting to see things grow. So how wonderful to have the
beautiful,
sun, the love, the heart in relationships. That's
beautiful.
fantastic. So we like this, angels, that we know that we see, and we have these wonderful, sunny, loving relationships. And then in the Capricorn position, which is the fourth card, which is Capricorn wants to build. It's where the sun is at noon. It's about being, visible in the world. What am I building? What am I contributing? Who am I? What am I here to? Because Saturn, the planet, wants to build solid foundations and structures that support life. So it's like, okay, what am I contributing? What am I building? This is, here's Pisces. Building, well, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac and everything is contained within it. So we're building like the connection to the all, to, the cosmic awareness, the cosmic ocean, Neptune. Yeah, so, interesting that Neptune, and then opposite Neptune is that Sagittarius, and that those are really like the visionary, the spiritual, the being open to the higher realms, like the 5D and beyond. We really do have that ability. We are on the 3D, and to take care of the physical earth, third dimensional, but to not forget that we are of the stars. So then the fifth card, which is the middle card, which is the most significant for I see, loving Leo relationships, and here we are in the Lion's Gate. This is what Leo time is. And then to contribute, like what the true Piscean age, the highest light of the Piscean age, is that Christ consciousness. And it's not about a religion. It never was about a religion. Neptune is known as the higher octave of Venus because it's the love of the unconditional, the love where we merge as one. Because in truth, we are all one, and we just are having these temporary earth experiences. So the most significant card is the sun. Isn't that fantastic? Here
Wow.
we are in Leo again, the light. And what does this say? It says, create and shine, be
Yes.
seen. Let your heart light shine. So what a wonderful reading. I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to you. I don't know how to do all these technology things, but
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That is amazing. And for all of us collectively to
yes,
gather and gain from what the angels are saying. How lovely. And
yes,
that my angels have come through. How
yes.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, well, they're telling us we have everything we need. We know who we truly are, and the light is with us, and we have one another. In the house of partnerships, we have the light to shine for one another.
It's really beautiful. So we're coming to the end of our
Yes.
beautiful chat here today. So do you have any beautiful words you would like to impart before we say aloha?
Aloha. Um, well, it's such an honor and a privilege. I feel like we're back in the Lady Chapel on that magical 777 day together. So thank you, Jude, for sharing so much. Your Cosmic Cuppa and your angels and your Mary channeling that was I'll always remember. Um, I know I'm kind of like, oh Thelma, where's the poem or something? What do I have to say? Well, I guess for me, what I'm feeling, and it's interesting because it's starting to storm here in Arizona, where it's been over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Um, that's the waters, and just how important it is to just be in our hearts and be in our centers with all these changes and all the diversity, and yeah, that cosmic egg or the golden egg, just like we're so protected and we're so loved, and this is a special time, and I just hope and pray that humanity comes together in this Aquarian new time that we're in. That's what it is about. And it will happen. It is happening because I believe there's enough of us like that. The Arcturians want 40 groups of 40. I think we probably have 40 groups, but I don't know if there's 40 in them. There's quite a few groups of the group of 40. And like David said, the Sedona is one of the prototypes. So Helio Aloha wants to create a 40 group, 40 people in Sedona, and wherever you are, because you do Earth grid work, and you know what, we have to just however you do it. You don't have to be a part of the group of 40 planetary cities of light, but wherever you are, just to gather with people in love and send that light and feel the rainbow go through your body. This was a vision that Jose Arguelles, who brought the Mayan calendar to our awareness, and he brought through an Arcturian actually expression. But I loved his visualization that if we all synchronized, where from the South Pole, so you're closer there, you see the rainbow light coming through your rainbow body, wherever you are in the planet, and coming out the northern and going around the entire planet in a rainbow of light color. Just like to just remember, and like you said, I didn't know that it was only 3 colors, and we're opening to many new colors. I mean, there's the spectrums, the abilities that we all have. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing so much.
Thank
I
you
feel
too, Elizabeth. This has just been remarkable. We're going to have lots more chats. I can see that, which
thank you.
I'm absolutely loving. It's so beautiful to connect in this way. Thank you for all that you do. What do you offer people, and where can they find you?
Well, yes, my I have a website. It's Astro and then a dash hyphen ORACLE astro-oracle.com. And I feel very called because now that I know that I completed the Stargate work in Glastonbury and Stonehenge and Avebury, which was for 30 years, mostly there, part of the year, with groups, working with the grids. But now I'm happy to be in Sedona with the Sedna, and I feel very called to do. It feels like it has to do with bringing the grandmothers and the ancestral healings, and it is a special place here. So I'm feeling called bring groups maybe, or I haven't really started, but I love doing my astrology is my great love. Um, to do horoscopes. Yeah, and
So people can get hold of you via your website.
yes, it's Elizabeth at astro-oracle.com.
Thank you. Well, it's
Yes.
been an absolute blessing and pleasure to have you on a
Yes.
Cosmic Cuppa. Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Well, I hope someday the angels bring me to New Zealand
We
so that
would
we could
love
do
to
it.
have you.
We would do
Absolutely
it
love
together.
to.
Yes. Thank you,
So,
Jude.
so may it be. So if you're watching on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I finish with peace on earth. It starts with you. It starts with me. So God bless and good night, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.